Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for being here and for listening to me talk. Hi, today we are going to talk about something a little maybe vulnerable or a little unsure, but I wanted to give you a behind the scenes view of what goes on in an author's life and an entrepreneur because as you probably know, not only am I an author, I'm also an editor and an entrepreneur where I help authors learn more about the writing craft. I give them support through it, and I'm a writing coach, and I'm also a VA. And so I have a lot of different hats that I wear. And so sometimes it just gets to be a lot. So today I was going to talk a little bit about um, my next book. So, if you are aware of my writing, I have written the Codex series. I have released the first two books. I have not completed the whole series. I have not written it all. But I've started the Codex series. The Secret of the Codex was my debut novel. I loved it. I'm so proud of it. I'm still super proud of it. Of course, there's always things looking back that you'd be like, I might tweak that or tweak that. But I'm super proud of it. And I'm proud of myself for getting that out. Um, and in 2020, I released The Prophecy of the Codex, which was book two. So and that was basically 2 years between the first two. And now it's been 2 years. And I'm like, okay, it's time for book three. If you've read Prophecy of the Codex, you know that there's a tiny bit of a teaser / cliffhanger a little bit going into book three. And so I know people are excited to see what happens, and I am as well. That book is written. I wrote it last year and early last year, actually. And I have been working on edits on that for months and months and months. And I have been struggling. Let's just be honest. I have been struggling with the edits, not so much the actual editing process, although that sometimes can be a struggle. It's it it's just not coming together. Like and the funny thing is, here's the thing. I it's pretty much almost done. Like honestly, I'm like 95% done with this book. Um Obviously it's been drafted. I've been through several editing drafts. My hair is being crazy right now. I've been through several editing drafts, and it's to the point where it really just needs a final proofread and it's done. And then, the formatting and all of the production process that goes into making it pretty. And um but my husband and I were talking, I think yesterday, and he said, well, maybe it's not the right time to release it. And when he said that, I felt like a big weight was lifted off of my shoulders. And to me, that is an indication that maybe it isn't the right time. Maybe it's not quite there yet. And not necessarily because the book isn't done, not necessarily because the book is not ready to be released in a technical sense, because technically it is. I would literally need to spend probably 8 hours on a final proofread and it would be done and I could get it out and I could push it through. And I could do that. I am fully capable of doing that. But the fact that when my husband mentioned that maybe I shouldn't release it right away, the fact that I felt that weight off of my shoulders was an indication to me that maybe there was something there and maybe I needed to pause. And so I am temporarily putting that book on hold. The great thing is, I have been going back and forth with my cover designer, and the cover is actually pretty much done. I mean, because the inside of the book is not done. The full cover wrap is not completed, but the cover itself is done, which is always the trickiest part because the back is just kind of an extension of that. Because if you've seen my other books, they have a graphic on the front. So that's what we were trying to work to get right. So we finally got that right. So the cover is done for the most part. The book, like I said, is 95% done. So when I'm ready to release this, like it's going to take a week to get it produced and ready to launch. So it's not going to take a lot. So that also takes a weight off my shoulders. Because a lot of times I'm like, oh, I have this draft and I want to release it. And then it's editing, and editing always takes longer than I expect it to. Um, but something else that is a big indicator that it's been time maybe to pause with this book is I've just felt burned out almost since Christmas. And I didn't even know this until over Christmas, because it was, I think, on a Friday. I decided to take, or maybe it wasn't, I'm not sure. But anyway, I decided to take basically a 3-day weekend and not think about any business stuff at all, any book stuff, anything. I mean, I think I read, because I read every day, but I focused on, watching movies with my husband, and baking and cooking and doing all of the fun, Christmas things. It was just the two of us, but doing all of the fun things that you can do. And just that intentional pause was so life-giving that I said, okay, so what does this mean? And of course, because I am stubborn, I went into the rest of the month, and then got into 2022 and said, well, no, I got to keep pushing forward. I got to keep doing this. I got to keep trying. And part of that was continuing to work on the fall of the Codex. And like I said yesterday, it just was a breath of relief to give myself permission to not push this, because if I push it, something's not going to be right. The story may be right, and the story may not change at all. The story may be what it is right now, and just those final little proofread tweaks at the end may actually end up being the version that gets released. So I'm not saying technically it might not be ready, but there are other considerations like the timing, and if people are ready to read it, and if I can hit the right people with my marketing that will see that book, that want to read it, that will fall in love with it. So the timing's just not right. The timing might be right tomorrow. I don't know that. I really don't. It may be that I get into other things, and then I just decide, hey, cool. And now is the time. But right now, in this moment, it is not the time. And that feels good to say, because I have a very one-track mind, and what I'm going to be doing instead, and this is part of why I've been feeling burned out, writing is my therapy. Writing is the way I get my thoughts out on the page in a fiction form. Journaling actually, surprisingly, doesn't work super well for me. Sometimes it does, but writing is the way I get all of these emotions and thoughts out. And I haven't been doing that because I've been focusing on the editing of this book. And it's a very different process. If you've ever edited or written a book, it's very different headspace to be in. So I'm going to write. And it might not even be book 4, which is in my head, oh, you have to write book 4 because that's your next release after book 3. It might not even be that. It may just be whatever the muse is telling me to work on. And we'll just see. It's just part of the journey. That's the whole thing. I have always said you don't need an outline to write a book, which you don't. You may need an outline, but in general, people do not need an outline to write a book. I've always said, if you are a pantser and that works for you, and you are writing books as quickly as you would like, and you're getting out the books that you want to in the time frame you're getting them out, great. For me, I have been on this journey, and there are some things that I want to try. I want to try a different writing process because I do want to release books more quickly than I have been. So I'm going to try some different things and see if it works and see what comes out, and just explore the fun of writing again, because that's why I do it in the first place, right? So thank you for listening. I hope this has been encouraging to you, because if you struggle with any of this, if something just feels like it's too much and there's something, just be honest with yourself. Be honest about, is this the right time? And if maybe all logic says you haven't gotten a book out since last August, you need to release a book. You need to release the second book or the third book in your series, because that's the one readers are going to expect. I don't know how it's going to work out, but thank you all for joining me on the journey and for listening, and just do your thing. Bye.